it made me realize that I have this very mixed, complicated Asian American identity that I'm very proud of.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Planet. I'm your host, Kristen Maldonado, TV and film critic, content creator, and champion for inclusion. And on this podcast, we talk about TV, film, and representation in Hollywood through the lens of diverse voices. Today, I'm joined by Kayla Yumi Lewis and Luke Salin to talk about Parked in America, their TV pilot that's premiering at South by Southwest. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out to speak with me today about Parked in America. How exciting you guys making your South by Southwest premiere there. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the project and where the inspiration to create this came from.
We made this project at NYU Tisch, and we were part of the advanced TV class. So how NYU works is they have an open call for submissions for scripts, and so I submitted in my junior year, and we were lucky enough to get chosen. So we made our project in the fall and winter of 2019, and we finished in 2020. And I guess in terms of inspiration, I knew that I wanted to write a YA television series that focused on Asian protagonists and have an Asian family in the center of the story, while also talking about, coming of age and growing up from that perspective, and also, mental health and mental health awareness for young people. While also just being that fun kind of YA genre that I love so much.
Kayla and I have been very close friends throughout college. We both grew up in the Bay Area, and we both grew up in biracial Asian families. So this story was very based off of kind of the lives that we had lived growing up. And so I just remember Kayla starting to write it and her talking to me about it and how much she loved it. And we had worked together on set a couple times before. And I was very honored that she trusted me to direct this story that was very personal to her. And I just absolutely wanted to do it because we do share so many of the same things that we want to see on screen. And I think we just have such an in-sync creative mindset of what we wanted to see.
What I think is so cool about this project is that it tackles so many different sort of dynamics. You're following the story of being Asian American. You're following the story of being Asian and coming to America. You're following the story of coming from a biracial family and those challenges. So I'd love to know for you guys, what is your relationship like with your Asian heritage, and how were you able to bring that experience into this project? I mean, obviously you wrote about it, but were there certain things that you were like, yes, this happened to me, I need to put this in here, or like, people don't get to see this all the time on screen, like we need to put this in here?
I'm half Korean on my mom's side and white American on my dad's side, but I've always been extremely, extremely close with my Asian family, and hearing all about their story coming to America. My grandparents and my mom immigrated the 80s, I want to say, to California. I may have gotten that completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the 80s. I'm sorry, Mom. But yeah, so I mean, I've always been super connected to my heritage, and a lot of the kind of microaggressions that are in there have either happened directly to me, like words directly taken from things that people have said, or, based on the experiences of my family. And I live in kind of an Asian American community with a lot of Asian American friends and their families. So I kind of pulled from people around me and their experiences. And I guess the most blatant example of what I pulled from there was when Jamie has to change her name to Jamie from Jiyeon. Because when I was really young and I was in kindergarten, I had, my name, Kayla Yumi Lewis, on the roster. They called my name out, and I immediately got laughs, around the room from other kids whose, middle names are not ethnic or a little bit different. So it automatically, I felt like I was out of place, and I never wanted anyone to know my middle name after that. And I kept it, I kept it a secret for a long, long time because I was so insecure about it. And so I wanted to kind of put that into the pilot, and, right away people identify you as different based on something that you can't really control. But yeah, I think that was for me one of the things. But Luke, go ahead.
My mom is Chinese, and my dad is white, and so differently from Kayla, I never felt too connected to my like heritage and my culture. I didn't really grow up speaking any Chinese because my mom or grandmother didn't make me learn, and so I kind of have always felt a little distant. And then also just being like a halfie, I never felt like I fully was like I never knew how to feel like super connected to my background, and that was something that I struggled with until kind of I got to college and I kind of went through the process of making this, because I realized that my growing up, even though I thought it was kind of normal and I did the things that I thought were just, I don't know, what my family was like, but not necessarily what I thought my family should be like. And it made me realize that I have this very mixed, complicated Asian American identity that I'm very proud of and thankful of. And I think that is kind of how I thought about Eli's relationship to his identity and growing up in this Midwestern, wealthier area where, he doesn't have that same connection that Jamie, who is full Korean and from Korea, has to his heritage. And he doesn't kind of get that same connection from his mom or from his grandmother. So, yeah, in some ways, this project helped me realize some of the things that I didn't even know that I needed to deal with.
That's like a beautiful thing, I mean, watching this film, I'm Latino, but I grew up in a very, white area. And, I don't speak Spanish. My parents didn't teach us that. And, there are times where I also feel very much like a little bit on the outside of like, oh no, I'm not Spanish enough. I'm not Hispanic enough, and I think that that's something that I really related to watching this and seeing these characters coming into these different situations and just being like, I think that this is just such a universal story, and that's why I like connected with it so much. So I really appreciate you guys kind of just sharing your experiences and what made you want to put this together and what you got out of, working on this project, because I think that's something that people are going to take away from this pilot. That's definitely what I took away from it. Now, I'm curious if you feel like maybe this project may take on a new light in the wake of the Stop AAPI hate movement.
I was thinking about this as well, just because when we made this, it wasn't, coronavirus pandemic hadn't hit. There wasn't that huge spike in anti-Asian hate crimes, or Chinatowns weren't, plummeting either. So it's interesting now that we are, premiering in this kind of time where we are finally talking about the Asian American experience, which I think is really great. Just because, a lot of the things that I've seen online from Asian creators and actors and all kinds of artists is that, and I think Stephen Yun said something like the Asian American experience is like when you're focused on everyone else, but everyone else isn't thinking about you. So he said something along the lines of that. And so I think that, all these great Asian creators that are coming out and putting their work out and sharing their stories, it's a way for us to kind of, get other people to maybe, listen to us, hopefully, if not for the first time. Yeah, I think it's just, I think it's been a very interesting year for us. And I think I'm really excited to see what happens, but also to enlighten people that are not Asian about what our experience can be like.
Yeah, I have to second all of that. I mean, and just as consumers, it's just been amazing to have, like real great award contenders like Parasite and Minari, just, I don't know, just representing, I think, what different cinema has to offer from not only international places, but also just here in the US. But I think it is complicated. It's sad to have kind of this different spotlight on, I think, Asian content. And I think I just hope that it does bring out the positivity of that there are such a wide range of Asian stories. It's not just these hard, sad stories, that there are joyful Asian stories too.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think you guys, with this project are already in great company with so many new young adult projects that are being led by Asian Americans, like To All the Boys and Dash and Lily, which, yeah, so good. So I think there's like, I'm hoping that it's not just going to become a trend and it becomes something that like, we're just going to see it become a regular occurrence, as we should with, I think, all stories of different, backgrounds. So to see your guys' project, I think it really rings true. And I'm curious if you had any favorite scenes to film, any scenes that were maybe more difficult to film.
Like any film or TV show, we have to film out of order. So I think we started with the ending first, which I know is very difficult for the actors. And just for, like Judy, who plays Jamie, this was her first experience on a set like this big, or really, I think, on any kind of film set at all. So it was tough to have to quickly ramp up to filming everything at the school, which also includes some of the things at the beginning, and then having that huge gap of stuff that happens kind of in between when she first arrives at school and then at the end, where there's lots of interesting relationship drama that has been built up. So to try to keep in mind all those things that we hadn't filmed yet, and then have all that emotion pour out at the end, that was definitely a tricky thing to keep up the energy.
Yeah, those were definitely difficult. I think it was our easiest weekend shooting in terms of like schedule, and it was our first weekend and it went really smoothly. So we were really, really excited to keep going. And so our next weekends we were at the house where like the Barnes family lives. And I think, and we had a lot more difficulty there in terms of like equipment breaking and just schedule going behind. So we were, thrown for a loop. So we had to like improvise on our feet and kind of restructure the whole schedule based on these equipment failures. But I think in terms of like favorite scenes that we filmed, I think there's the party scene. There's just so many different moving parts to that party. And I think it was just a lot of fun. Everyone in our crew was in the scene. Everyone who wasn't like holding the camera or holding the boom was in the scene. So all of us, we're all students, so I think we all blended in, kind of looked like we were high schoolers still. We kind of have the baby face. But it was just really fun to kind of sink into that. And I never really went to parties in high school, so it kind of felt like my first high school party, honestly.
You mentioned you guys are students making this. So what is it like to kind of go from that to now having this premiere at South by Southwest? That must be really exciting.
It's like literally insane. I can't even fathom, none of us can fathom the fact that this is happening. I would have never, ever expected it in a million years, but we are so like honored and really, really excited to share it with everyone. And I feel so thankful to South by Southwest for putting us up and for, believing in us. Because I think one of the big things that I wanted to talk about with this project specifically is how young people's problems and young people are kind of trivialized. And so for this really incredible festival that's been on for years and years and years to be shining a light on this project and on us young creators, it feels, like wow, we're not like just babies. We have something to say.
It's incredible, the idea that there are going to be people who are paying to go to this festival and to see our work. Like, that is just still so unimaginable to me. Too, just as a fan of South by Southwest, I haven't gotten to go, so I'm excited to just be there and get to see what everyone's making. And yeah, it feels extremely validating. And I know just how lucky we are, being able to come out of college and also just this pandemic with something that we've made fully being able to be seen. And I know that a lot of our peers weren't so lucky when the school year got interrupted. So yeah, it's just truly incredible.
Is there anything that you guys are kind of hoping for this project after South by Southwest, maybe continuing on or working on something else?
We're hoping to continue our festival run and, show the project in as many places as possible, and get as many eyes on it as we can. But it's always, this is a TV pilot, so the big goal always is to make more. And like we just planted the seeds of the story in this first episode, and we just got to know the characters. So I think there's just a lot more that we can discuss and I know everyone who is personally my friends or family or whoever has seen it that knows me personally. They always are like, "What's gonna happen next? This cliffhanger ending is not okay. You need to tell me what's going on." So I think being able to answer those questions would be great.
I think we as a crew just had such a great experience working together. And it would be an honor to be able to continue this story that we both care about really dearly.
I hope so too. I mean, you guys really did such a beautiful job of putting this story together. You guys really told a complete story, even in just that pilot, where I was like, oh man, like, I'm ready for more. Like, I want to know what's going to happen to Eli. I want to know what's going to happen to everybody. Like, and I think that that's such a unique thing to be able to do, like not everybody can do that. So congratulations, you guys absolutely killed it. Is there anything else that you want to share about the pilot?
We're just really excited. And we hope that everyone who watches it, gets something from it or first of all just enjoys it. I hope they like it, but also that they can feel connected to the characters or feel moved somehow, some way, and we're just really, really grateful for this opportunity.
It premieres at South by Southwest on March 17th at 10 a.m. Central Time. So yeah, we really hope we'll be there, hopefully watching other content too, but definitely looking to hopefully see what people are saying, and yeah, we'd love to connect with everybody.
Is there any place that people can check you guys out if they want to follow more of what you guys are up to?
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Yumi Lewis. And our project page, the more important page, is Parked in America Show at Parked in America Show on Instagram. So yeah, that's for me, but for Luke.
and I'm just at Luke Salin on Instagram too. But yeah, definitely would love to hear what everybody thinks.
Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciated it. I love the pilot, and I know so many other people are going to connect with it as well. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristen.
You can find all the information and links to Pop Culture Planet and our guests below. If you're interested in following the podcast, you can follow me pretty much everywhere at Kmaldo or the show at Pop Cult Planet. And you can also support the podcast with your very own Pop Culture Planet merch. We have sweaters, t-shirts, and stickers available at teespring.com/stores/Kmaldo. You can catch new episodes of the show every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. EST on youtube.com/Kmaldo, or later listen to an audio version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you enjoy the episodes, consider subscribing so you know when a new one's posted. Rate and review this podcast and share it with your fellow pop culture lovers. Thanks for listening. It's been a blast, and I'll talk to you next week. For more Pop Culture Planet, this link's right here.